Another light, there is a switch in the ground. Just press that. This My dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we're hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto Chapter 7, and verse number 3. And this verse says, Manusyanam sahasrisu kaschit chatati siddhaye chatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam viditattataha. And it says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at, one second. Let's go back over here. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at the same time, He is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripada Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him, although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti yoga or devotional service is very easy. They cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy, as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they not take up the difficult path? Actually, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti yoga is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Aikantaki Harer Bhakti Utpatayaiva Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahman realized persons or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yasoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyante yatsuraya, mam tu vedana kaschana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then sa mahatma sudurlabha, such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is. Tattvata means the truth. Even though one is a great scholar or philosopher, only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna, in the cause of all causes, in his omnipotence and opulence, and in his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore, it is said, Atakshi Krishna Nama Di Nabhavet Gayam Indriyai Sevan Muke Hichiva Do Swayam Eva Spuratida. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Brahma Samhita 1.2.234. Okay, so that's a wonderful verse and purport. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. Out of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Manusyanam sahasrisu kaschit jadati siddhaye jatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam viti tattvataha. That's a beautiful verse. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. And also, another wonderful verse is quoted in this purport. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabavet Graham Indriya Sevanmukhe Jiva Doswayam Eva Spuratida. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhakti Rasam Bhakti Rasam Sindhu, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. Yeah. So that's a very important verse. Atak Shri Krishna Nabhati Nabhavit Graham Indriyai Sevan Mukehi Jivado Swayam Eva Spuratyata. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses. Yes, the senses have to be purified by the practice of Krishna consciousness. But he reveals himself to devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. So if we engage in that transcendental loving service to the Lord, then we'll be able to understand Krishna by the mercy of Krishna. He'll be very pleased with us. So because we are pleasing him by engaging in transcendental loving service to him, Krishna will reveal himself to us. In other words, it's reciprocal. If we are surrendered 1% to Krishna, he reveals 1% to us. If it's 10%, he reveals 10%. If it's 100%, he will reveal 100%. So it's reciprocal. It all depends on how much we want to love Krishna. Text number 4. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara itiyame bina pakritir astada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord, in his different Purusha incarnations, or expansions, as described in the Sattvita Tantra. Vishnu's tu Shinirupani Purushakyani Ato Vidu Ekam tu Mahata Shastir Dvitiyam Tvananda Samstitam Tritiyam Sarvabhutastam Tani Yatva Vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy, known as the Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone, well, of course, if he's present in every atom, he's present in the heart of every living entity also. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglements. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this is chapter 7, text number 4. And the purport says, this material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these 3 Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God or Krishna assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities and that the living entities are Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahmajyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahmajyoti, as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas. And the impersonalist accepts this Brahmajyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of Shrudakshaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual worlds. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations, or the gross creations within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. That is, earth, water, fire, air, and sky. And then sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. The material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 senses or 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahat Tattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna, as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. So basically, the Sankhya philosophers ignore the transcendental existence of Krishna in the spiritual world. They're only dealing with the material worlds. Therefore, they have incomplete knowledge of the truth. Text number 5. Apariyam itastvanyam pakritim vidime param jivabhutam mahabaho yar yadam daryate jagat. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. So when it says there is another superior energy of mine, he's talking about the soul of the living entities. that is a superior energy of Krishna's. It's not just the body. Now we're talking about the spirit soul, which is part and parcel of Krishna. Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter, manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, water, etc., and subtle, mind, intelligence, and false ego, are products of the inferior energy. Yeah, it's only the material body. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. And it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. Okay, what is he talking about? The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, because living entities have an eternal soul. So they're the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme eternal living entity, and all the living entities are his parts and parcels, and they are also eternal. But because they get misled, they're subject to birth and death. But they're never annihilated because we all have eternal souls. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, meaning the living entity. Energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful, as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-30 as follows. Aparimita Duruvas Tanu Brito Yadisarvagatas, and so forth. O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position, that means that's our real position as the living entity. In that constitutional position only can they be controllers. Yeah, they're not going to control the universe, but they can control their own selves, right? And remain engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion. Yeah, we're not independent. We're always going to be dependent on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we had limited independence and limited control. As long as we have faith in Krishna, then Krishna gives us the opportunity to engage in devotional service and in that way have some limited control, right? But it's never unlimited, and it's only by the mercy of the Lord that we have that facility. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are a superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, meaning they all have eternal souls. But they are never equal to the Lord in quantity of power. Yeah, we are one and different. We're one because we all have eternal souls, but our powers are limited, whereas Krishna's powers are unlimited. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy or matter, the superior energy, the living entity, forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of the illusory material energy, and that's because of Krishna consciousness, right? He attains the stage called mukti or liberation. The false ego, under the influence of material illusion, thinks, I am matter, and material acquisitions are mine. His actual position is realized when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Well, that's what the Mayavadis are trying to do. They want to merge into Brahman and become one with the Lord. But to do that, you have to deny your own individuality. So first of all, it's like committing suicide. First of all, you have to deny that you are a person. And then try to merge into the Brahman effulgence. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. So when it's referring to energy, it's talking about the soul of the living being. That's why it says, therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. Okay, so we are only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. Krishna is controlling all living entities. Text number 6. Eta Jnanini Bhutani Sarvaniti Upadaraya. Aham Krishnasya Jagata Prabhava Pralayastata. All created beings have their source in these two natures. That is, these two natures, it means soul and matter. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. So Krishna is controlling everything material and everything spiritual. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. It's not the opposite. The atheists think that at a certain point of material combinations, spirit is produced. But it's just the opposite, that spirit is the source of matter. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. although that's what the atheists believe. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because that superior energy, spirit soul, is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the supersoul, or Vishnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this gigantic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord. And consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may be the cause of a big skyscraper, a big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul, or the super soul, and Krishna, the Supreme, is the cause of both the big and the small souls. Therefore, he is the original cause of all causes. This is confirmed in the Kathopanishad 2.2.13. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadatikam. This is Kathopanishad 2.2.13. Okay, I think we're near the end. We'll just read text 7. Matat parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Mae sarvam idam protam shrutte manigana iva. O conqueror of wealth. That means Dhananjaya. It's the name of Krishna. He's the conqueror of wealth. There's no truth superior to me. So this is Krishna speaking to the living entity, or to Arjuna. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So that's subtle. You see the pearl necklace, but you don't necessarily see the thread. But the thread is there. Otherwise, the necklace would fall apart. Right? So Krishna is that thread that keeps everything together. Okay. There is a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. Well, the Mayavadis say it's impersonal, and the Vaishnavas say it's personal. The living entity is personal, not only impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth, is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarvakarana Karanam. That is, the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person. These authorities, well, I was talking about the Vaishnava Acharyas. They are the authorities. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Svatasvatara Upanishad 3.10, Tato yad uttarataram tad arupam anamayam yad etad vidur amritas te bhavanti ate tare tukam evapi yanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form. But that doesn't mean he has no form. It means that he has no material form. Who has, so the Mayavadis, when they read this, that proves it, that he has no form. Hey, it says it right here, he has no form. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Sritasrapara Upanishad 3.10, Tatuyad Uttarataram Tad Arupam Anamayam Yadetad Vidur Amritas Te Bhavanti Ate Tare Dukam Eva Priyanti. So they take this word Arupam, which means no form. And therefore, they say, oh, well, you see, there it is right there in the Sanskrit, that the Supreme Personality Godhead is Tad Arupam. Now let's see what Prabhupada says. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form. Now he's talking about Krishna. Yeah, Krishna does not have a material body, who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalists put more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. Arupam means without form. But now it's saying this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates that the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita, quoted above. Other verses in the Sritasrapara Upanishad 3.8-9 substantiate this as follows. And then it quotes Vedaham etam purusham ahantam, etc. I know the Supreme Personality Godhead who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of material of birth and death. There's no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supremosT. He is smaller than the smallest, and he is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky as a tree spreads its roots. He spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the supreme absolute truth is the Supreme Personality Godhead, who is all-pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. So Krishna is the smallest, and he's the biggest. So Krishna is the smallest because he enters into the heart of every living entity. Right? And he's the biggest because he can manifest himself as Paramatma, or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, encompassing everything. So he is both bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. If we go to Bhagavad Gita 8:9. Let's take a look at what it says. 8:9. 8:9. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anor Aniyamsam Anusmaridya Sarvasya Dataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parasta. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Let's see. 1 second. Yeah, it says here. Yeah, it says there is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest, and he is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky. And as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. But then this other verse, number 8, number 9, says, Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anor Aniyamsam Anusmaditya. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, and is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Okay, so when it says that he's smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest, that means that no one is equal or equal to him or greater than him. And that's why this verse says, O conqueror of wealth, there's no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. It's a very significant verse. So there's nothing superior to Krishna. That means he's greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. Both ways, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everything rests upon me, he says, as pearls are strung on a thread. So it's very subtle. You don't see the thread, meaning Krishna, but he is controlling everything, all the pearls. Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll stop right there. But here it says, O conqueror of wealth, there's no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So that's very, very transcendental knowledge. So it says, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sababritya. Only Ishvara is Krishna. All others are his servants. That's a wonderful verse. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sababritya. Only Ishvara is Krishna. Ishvara means the controller of everything. All others are servants. Or there is nothing above me, Krishna says. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam. Also, Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam. That's the 9th chapter, 11th verse. What does it say? 9th chapter, 9th chapter, line 11 says, Avajanantimam mudha manasim tanam asrita. Excuse me. Param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Yeah. So when Krishna appears as an ordinary human being, of course, he's not ordinary human being, but he appears like that. Then people think that he's ordinary. But then, even in his form as an ordinary human being, he performs uh, transcendental activities. Therefore, it says here, from the other explanation, this is chapter 9, text 11. In the purport, it says, from the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world, but Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Parama Krishna. And his body is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of transcendental knowledge and full of bliss. So, and he's non-material. So although you see him with a body, but that body is not a material body. It's purely spiritual body or non-material body. Non-material doesn't mean it has no existence. It's not material existence, it's spiritual existence. It's a spiritual body. That is such eternal, chit, full of all knowledge, ananda, full of transcendental bliss. So that's his body. It's not made of blood and pus and urine and stool. It's made of, his body is made of sat, eternity, chit, full of transcendental knowledge, and ananda, full of transcendental bliss. That's his body. It's non-material body. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His, Krishna's body, is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manusim because he is acting like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually, his body is Sat, eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, Ananda, and full of transcendental bliss, Vigraha, in a form. Eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Sat Chitananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam ekam govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Sat Chitananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. Gopala Tapani Upanishad. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but his conception of Sri Krishna due to a poor fund of knowledge. But this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Muda, for only foolish persons consider him to be an ordinary human being. The foolish cannot consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. In other words, they make fun of him. They don't think that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy and has been explained in several places. Mama Maya Duratyaya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control. And whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? This is logic by Srila Prabhupada. So, this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaryam, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite, the infinite and the finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary man, human. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Sonaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavang Kilakarmani Saha Ramena Keshava Atimat Yani Bhagavan Gudha Kapata Manusaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being and so masked so masked he performed many superhuman acts. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.20. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with four hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.3.46, Babhuva Pakrita Sisu, he became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of four hands. Tenaiva Rupena Chatura Bhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his his original human-like form, Manusam Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarve subhute subhutatmatma vastitam sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura instead of following the interpretation of the unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami commenting on this verse says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the Supersoul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshiping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, everybody is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So, as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. Wow. The major statements by Prabhupada. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's all-pervading, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavana, and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, He is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. So when it says he is all pervading as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Nadiraja Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Yeah, Sarvakarana Karanam. What does that mean? He's present everywhere in the creation. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. I jumped from chapter 7 to chapter 9, but that's to give more, let's say, nectar.
Especially these last two paragraphs, they're like very, so many statements. So Prabhupada knew that people will give more importance to deities than the devotees.
Yeah. Yes. We have to respect everyone, not just the deities. But we should not ignore the deities either. So the Mayavadis deride deity worship and make fun of it. Oh, you are worshiping statues. Deities are not statues. There's no difference between the deity form and the universal form. Okay, we'll stop there today. Our takeaway is the following. Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality, he is all-pervading as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. That is our takeaway tonight. Krishna is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. And Ishvara Parama Krishna, that says that Krishna is Ishvara Parama Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Sat Chitananda Vigraha. He is Sat, eternity, Chit, full of knowledge, Vigraha, and Sat Chit Ananda, full of transcendental bliss with a transcendental form. Sat Chitananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And he's also known as Govinda, and he is the Lord of all living entities. Okay. He's also present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 13th chapter, 41st verse, it says, one who misuses the opportunity to advance in Krishna consciousness is condemned. One who misuses the opportunity to advance in Krishna consciousness is condemned. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.41. And also, Mayavadis deride deity worship. They think it's nonsense worshiping the deity. And if we look at verse 518, what does it say? Vidya Vinaya Sampane Pramaniga Vihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater or outcast. Yeah, so they are samadarshi. They see with equal vision. Samadarshi. So we should learn also to see with equal vision. All living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. The good people and the bad people. That means that originally we were all with Krishna. And then because of limited free will, some people revolted against Krishna. But that only means that all the ones that revolted against Krishna, they can come back to Krishna because they were originally with Krishna. But then they misused their limited free will to separate themselves. But they have the right to come back. Okay, so this verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmaniga Vihastini, Sunichaiva Swapakecha, Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision. That means Samadarshi. A learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater or outcast. So this vision, Samadarshi, equal vision, is very important for a devotee to achieve. And that's why in the purport to that verse, chapter 5, verse number 18, it says, a Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion, is Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. That's a beautiful statement. Beautiful statement. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge as far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life. The Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as the Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities, meaning he's always in the heart of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the super soul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. Now, this is real vision. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. He's Samadarshi, equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. That is the 5th chapter, 18th verse, which is a very, very important verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmanika Vihastani Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. That Pandita Samadarshina means that a real Pandit, a real spiritual person, is Samadarshi. He sees with equal vision all living entities. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater or outcast. So this Samadarshi, seeing with equal vision, is the culture of a real devotee. He doesn't say, "Oh well, the Hindus are better than the Americans." He doesn't say that. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. And our takeaway is Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastani Sunichaiva Swapakecha Panditas Samadarshina. The Pandit, the real devotee, sees with equal vision. That's our takeaway today. Pandita Samadarshina. 5th chapter, 18th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Pandita Samadarshina. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.